So this is what I decided to do on the second row. The previous video I've showed you how to start a pine needle basket wrapping the pine needles. So I decided to try this mustard color just to see if it would pop, and it pretty closely matches this color in the stone. It's a little bit lighter, but it's close enough. So this is a stitch I decided to do. It's kind of like a Mariposa, except that I'm using 2 threads. The overlay is 2 threads as opposed to 1. This thread that I'm using is a little bit thinner than what I normally use. It's 0.50 millimeters, and this is 1 millimeter. So it takes more wraps, but I thought it would look better if I did 2 threads over the bottom. So I'm kind of changing up the Mariposa stitch a little bit. So what you do, how you create this stitch, is you just wrap like you did on the first row. And I think I need about 10 to keep this equal. I did measure it out to try to get them about the same. It's just over 1/4 inch. That's 4, 5. So I've decided that about 10 wraps works. So this is about my 10th. Now I'm always scrunching these down, remember, to make it nice and tight so the needles don't show through. I don't like any little holes there. So that was 9 wraps. Now I'm going down below the bottom row, and I'm using my needle to get through there because this is really tight up against the stone. If you're doing it on just 2 rows, it's easier to get it, but this bottom area is really tight, and I like it that way. So I'm going over once. Now, normally in the Mariposa, you just go over once. So I'm using 2 threads, though. I'm going over twice. And then this is going to be similar to what they call the knotted Mariposa. So then you come back to front. It looks similar to the tie stitch, but it's not the tie stitch. This is the Mariposa, or knotted Mariposa, because we're putting a little knot. So you come on the left side, come on over, and go across the 2 threads. Let's see if I can get that up in there where you could see it good. Then you just continue wrapping. Keep pushing everything tight. So I really like doing this Mariposa or overlay with 2 different colors, 2 distinct colors, because then it pops. I've done other baskets with like gold. In fact, in the red dress project, the Every Woman, I called it Every Woman, I used this stitch with the gold over the red, and it looked gorgeous. So again, I'm gonna go, I need 10 wraps, and I need to add needles too. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now with my finger, I'm feeling in the back to make sure it's laying flat. So I don't want it laying over the top. So that was 9, so this is 10. Now I need to add needles, so I'll go ahead and put 1 in. Ordinarily, I wouldn't add needles as I'm going around the corner because if it's thicker, it's harder to get it to lay flat around the corner. So then again, I'm going to get up really close here. Ignore my yellow needle, my yellow fingernails. And I'm going to go right between that bottom coil and the resin. Overlay that bottom row. I will straighten it up. And then I'm going to go over a second time. Now, if you're doing the true Mariposa, I think it's just one stitch overlay. There's two. Okay. Then you can feel your way, but I usually just turn it around. Go on the left side of that stitch, right between the two coils. Come to the front. Pull it over to the right. Now, obviously, if you're coiling from right to left, you'd come up this side. You'd come up the right side and go over to the left side. So it would be, you're coiling this way instead. And again, I can do it both ways, but this is my preferred way. So there's like a little thread in there or something. So there you go. That's the knotted Mariposa. And that's what it looks like. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see that. It's bright enough. So knotted Mariposa, but I have it with 2 stitches down here as opposed to 1 because this is thinner thread, but I really love this color. And it's 0.50 millimeters, where the red is 1 millimeter. It's thicker. But that gives it a nice look. If you see the red doll project I worked on called Every Woman, I used gold over red, and it was metallic gold, so it showed up really nice. Knotted Mariposa. Thanks for watching. Virginia here with Jenny Lee Gems. So I thought this would be a very good time to show you how to change your thread while wrapping a coil. I've got other videos online on how to change thread 3 ways, but since we're working on this beautiful Australian mookite, I believe it is, I will show you because I got to that spot right now. So this piece of thread, I was wrapping. Got a couple little wraps here, and I don't like to finish off right where I'm doing a stitch because it could loosen, or I don't know, it's just my habit to try to put a few more wraps in to tighten everything up. So I've just got a little piece left here, and this needle is so big, trying to put it through threaded didn't work. So this is how I usually deal with that situation. I put the needle through first and then thread it and pull it through. So we finished off here. We're gonna come from back to front. It doesn't matter, you could go front to back or back to front, whichever way you would like to go. And just pierce through the needles. And we're gonna tie this down. Not really tie it, but just secure it down. So see, I went right through the center of the needles and then just push everything snug, of course. I'm constantly snugging and tightening. My wrists are really hurting from working on these wraps last night because I like to pull really tight and really snug. So pull that through and then cut your tail to about 1/2 inch or whatever you're comfortable with. Now this is really tight in there and snug, so it's going to stay because we are going to coil right over the top of it. So then take the tail and just, if I could get a hold of it, this thread is thinner than what I'm used to dealing with. Just stick it down in the little crevice there. Work with it to try to just hide that tail in there, that 1/2 inch. Now we're going to do the same with our new piece of thread. So that's pretty well hidden in there. Okay. So now I am going to go front to back because I try to keep the tails on the same side. Why, I don't know, but I just do. I think it looks cleaner. So you're going to go front to back with a new thread. I've pre-strung this needle with 2 arms length is what I work with. That's just what I was taught. And then front to back, and I'm going to push it between that little tail we created from the thread that we completed with. See that? So I go right through that little half stitch and then a whole wrap, and it just kind of hides it all better, is what I've found. You could do it whatever way you feel comfortable. This is just the way I do it. I've just taken what other teachers have taught me and kind of perfected it to work the way it works best for me. So then pull your thread, and I've got 2 arms length here, so because I'm starting a new thread. You could work with 1 arm's length, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I usually use 2 arms length. That's how I was taught. So then again, leave about a 1/2 inch tail and pull through slowly, because otherwise you get it through where you want it and then you pull it straight through. If you're going fast, you forget it's there. So then go ahead and take your needle or whatever works for you and push it down in. As I've said in my previous video, this thread is 0.5 millimeters, so it's smaller than the red. I'm used to working with 1 millimeter, but this color was only attainable in the 0.5 millimeter. So that just extra wax on there, and you could leave it or take it off. So then that looks pretty clean back there, and you just start wrapping again. And see how clean that is? Let's see, we've got 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to go ahead and snug this up. Look at that. You can't even tell where you started and stopped. Just looks really clean. 6, 7. Oops, my little gauge is falling off. 8, 9. And then on the 10th one is where I've been creating my stitch. So I gotta work my way all the way to the end. Let's go ahead and put my little straw back on. Snug those up. And then I'm going to create my stitch, and it looks just perfectly. I have to watch back here because I don't want to go through the thread there. I don't want to nick the thread because then it kind of makes a mark. But if you do, you can just press it down, and then when you either wax it or heat it up, however you're going to seal your basket, if you do seal them, the marks will come off. I did do another video on how to refresh all that because the wax does kind of get nicked up and it gives it a different look. So I just go over it with a hot blow dryer and it calms everything down. And I want to make sure to get on the right side of that back stitch. And sometimes takes a little bit of work. There we go. And I always look at the back too to see what it looks like. And you know, some people don't really care about the back, but if you're selling your baskets, you want them to look clean, or you're gifting them to a family member, because your basket's going to last for years and years to come. And it may be with, you know, a third grandniece or grandnephew or granddaughter, whoever. So when the thread is this long, it does tend to tangle up a bit. So you got to go slowly. And then just pull that through, tighten everything up. and start your wrap again. And see, you could barely see that tail in there, and you can only see even one of them, and the thread is going to go right over it, and it's going to look nice and clean. Looks nice and clean on the front. Sometimes you don't want to add pine needles right when you're doing this because it could make it thicken up a bit, but it's not really noticeable. You know, it's just 2 small threads hidden in there. So there's the front, looks nice and clean. There's the back, looks nice and clean. There's the tail. It's just gonna be hidden down in there. There you go, it just disappeared. So I hope that helps. That's how you can change your thread when wrapping a coil. Thanks for watching. Virginia here with Jenny Lee Gems. Okay, so if you are creating a knotted Mariposa or any type of stitch that's overlaying, if you're doing an overlay with a different color, you know, some people ask, how do you finish it off so it looks clean? Or where do you finish it off? So for experienced coilers, it's not that difficult to figure out. You just try to do it where you think it looks best. So, but I was going to show you, for those that have this question or wonder about how we figure out where to put it. So I try to finish it off where I think it looks best and where it maintains the flow of that last stitch. So I don't want a red gap here, and I could finish it off right there and just leave the red gap, but I don't like that look. So you kind of just gauge where you want it. Now this stitch I wasn't very happy with. I can't get it to lay exactly how I want over the tail, but it looks clean enough. And so this is what I decided to do. Although, so I was using 10 stitches, and on the 10th stitch I would go over so it maintained the same length between each stitch, and it was about 1/4 of an inch. So here I had to use less stitches because I want this beautiful thread to lay right over the top of that red, cover this weird little stitch where I started and stopped. So I started the golden thread. It's kind of like a mustard, really. So I started the mustard thread here, and you can see that it's not noticeable, but it kind of bugs me. So what I'm deciding to do is to go down, split this red in half, and then it'll match up much better with the rest of the basket bottom. So sometimes that's easy to get through there. Sometimes it was really tight, but this time it's easy. So I'm just going to go down over both bottom rows as opposed to one, because this is where I started my basket. And you will be able to usually tell where we start our baskets, but we want it to make it look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. So here we go. I'm going to force that and lay that right across there. So see how it's splitting up this red area as opposed to leaving a large one. I could have gone down here and it would have hidden that weird stitch, but I like the look. So when you look at the bottom of the basket, it's going to flow with the same pattern, I guess is what I'm saying, or what I'm trying to say. So I will put another stitch right next to that, or try to, and try not to grab the thread in the back. Pull it through. Now I cut 2 arms length, so I don't know if I'm going to continue with this color yet. So every few stitches I untangle my thread because it tends to get wound up. So there you go, right there. It's going to cut that big red area. Then I'm going to, just the same as I did before, come from back to front on the left side of those stitches, trying not to grab any of my threads Why is it fighting me right now? There we go. I kind of nicked that one thread, but I'll fix it. Pull it through slowly and pull it over. Tighten it up. For some reason, this 50.50 millimeter thread nicks a little bit more. Now, just to make it look aesthetically pleasing, I'm going to come from back to front again here on this first row and make a little knot. Hopefully I can get through there, okay? Just work it through so I'm not picking up any threads. That looks pretty good. So some people that won't bother, so it's kind of up to you, but just kind of examine your basket and decide what you want to be noticeable and what you do not want to be noticeable. I like to hide imperfections if I can, but you know, my baskets are never perfect. So there's just a little bit of wax buildup here, and it'll melt when you take the blow dryer to it. So there, that's how and I'm still gonna mess with this one, try to finish off the Mariposa or the knotted Mariposa stitch, or any stitch. Hope that helps. I will continue on from here. My thread is in the bottom row. Sometimes people ask, how do you get it back up? I will just go work it up here and have it right at the point that I need it to start my next stitch. And that's with any stitch like that. Just work it through the needles. There you have it. I'm loving the color here, but I only have one thing of thread left. I know I'm going to need more. I'm going to have to order that. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps. Message me with questions, and I will try to answer them. And again, excuse my nails. They're yellow. They kind of match the basket because I was working with turmeric the other day and it stained my nails. Thanks for watching.